Welcome back to my channel, Star Booze.
Cindy Williams did not disclose her last sickness, hidden from the fans. She canceled displays without justification. For 5 days following her passing, nobody was aware of her absence. Her sister Noah's revealed startling information. Regarding those final months, she's revealing what actually transpired behind closed doors. The real story behind Cindy's health, you will be stunned with the treatment. Hollywood was aware of a problem, but nobody could have predicted how serious it was. You will be devastated by details. Cindy. The date of Williams' birth was August 22, 1947, Los Angeles, Van Nuys. Her mom, Francesca, was a long-term employee of Waitress, but her dad, Bill, heard Williams worked for an electronics company. Business. There was never enough money. Cindy's childhood was influenced by hardship and motion. She was just 1 when the family relocated to Dallas. Then, at 10, they went back to Los Angeles. These modifications made her start over all the time, and that caused her flexible. Additionally, it taught her how to quickly establish connections with others, something that would later support her in the entertainment industry. She was not a child by herself. She possessed a strong relationship with her younger sister, Carolyn, and Jim, their half-brother from the first marriage of her mother. They living in what some may refer to as a reduced conditions. Cindy wore shabby clothes. I discovered early on how to maximize of hardly anything. Her eyes were brown and blue. Hair, as well as a helpful sense of humor, her deal with her father's alcohol consumption. He can seem erratic, but he also produced. Her impersonation of Jackie made her chuckle. Burl and Milton Gleason. Those times remained with her. Comedy was a form of security. Church turned as her haven. On Sunday, she felt safe at school from the disorder in the house. She performed in small plays, and also had a dream that Debbie Reynolds might enter and find her. Cindy subsequently stated that acting made, despite living at home, she feels strong, made her feel insignificant. At school, she participated in theatrical productions and made an impression instructors with her timing and phrases. When she received her degree from Birmingham High School, Sally was one of her classmates in 1965. Field. Cindy wasn't only having a dream. No, she was getting ready. Following a high, she attended Los Angeles to study theater, Angeles City College. It wasn't glamorous. To survive, she worked as a waitress, frequently working late shifts and auditioning in the daytime. She survived 4 to 5 hours of rest and maintained the journal in which she recorded 157 failures auditions prior to her being hired first national ad. Her major break did not appear suddenly. For many years, she lived in a small Hollywood flat. For $175 a month, occasionally till her final $20. She never quit up, though. By 1969, things started to change. She attracted attention. Is an advertisement for Foster Grant sunglasses. Then TWWA. Airlines, additional advertisements, and those who obtained her and paid the bills face on television. She appeared in a few shows. In minor parts, such as Love American Style and Room 222, they were never leads, though. She was always the girlfriend or the neighbor. However, each position required one step ahead. Then the day arrived when she never I forgot. In 1970, as a part of a project, The Funny Side, a variety show, she, Gene Kelly, and I had to dance. Uneasy, mid-spin, she trod on his foot. He never display it, completing the number like an expert. Years later, they gave a performance, returned to each other, and she stood on his foot a second time. He only chuckled, and, "Some things never change, kid," he remarked. That sort of genuine, chaotic charm it became her signature. A little odd. She was admitted to the Actors Studio West. Although it was a great honor, due to her hectic schedule, she was unable to attend on a regular basis. At this point, she began to attract the attention of larger names. In the renowned filmmaker George Cukor, 1972 noticed her in a little play and decided to cast her Ingos on trips with my aunt. Abruptly, she was working and appearing on TV alongside Maggie Smith beneath a man who had shaped stars similar to Katharine Hepburn. In her big break ultimately arrived in 1973 when she played the role of Laurie Henderson in Graffiti in America, George Lucas's low-budget movie about youths in the 60s. The film only cost to make $777,000, although nobody anticipated it to become a timeless masterpiece. Williams portrayed the girlfriend of Ron Howard. However, it went beyond merely playing for her. She subsequently claimed that she pulled directly from her actual heartache. Her guy was no longer with her for another person, claiming they ought to view other individuals. Her character was shaped by her suffering, genuine feeling, and it was evident. The dances scenario with Howard, in which they both smile for the throng while debating beneath their "when smoke enters your eyes," turned into one of the most impactful moments. In the movie, Lucas even revised some of the screenplay to provide her with additional nuance. Williams, in contrast to many of her co-stars having prior experience. Only a year she had previously appeared in Travels with, under the direction of the renowned Cukor, George. However, American Graffiti was distinct. She received a BAFTA for it. ESPN nomination for the Best Supporting Actress. An amazing honor for someone so early in her professional life. She lost. Ingrid Bergman was the recipient. However, being nominated with a legend like that means the entire world. Williams has put in a lot of effort to arrive there. She had left her job as a waitress to playing the lead in a movie that professions. Harrison Ford, Ron Howard, all future stars, including Richard Dreyfuss. The casting procedure had been crazy. More than 100 unknown actors had auditioned, such as Mark Hamill as a child. However, the producer Fred Roos, the same individual who contributed to Godfather, who had faith in her. That belief paid off. Her connection to the American Graffiti cast went above and beyond the movie. She was naturally attracted to Ron Howard, which resulted in anything unanticipated. By 1975, Howard was Richie Cunningham on Good Times. He got her that one appearance and the guest spot transformed her life. Partnered with Penny, their synergy, Marshall illuminated the screen. Gary Marshall observed it, and Laverne Shirley were launched right away. It rose to the top of the charts in America. However, Cindy and Penny weren't strangers. Years earlier, they had met Onan Additional Group and previously shared a close companionship. Additionally, American Graffiti connected her with Harrison Ford, who continued to work as a carpenter at the moment. He was persuaded by Fred Roos to play Bob Fala, the rebellious cool guy they would reunite in Coppola's upcoming blockbuster movie. Yes, exactly. Williams was seen by Francis Ford Coppola in American Graffiti and cast right away, participation in the discussion in 1974. This occurred in the same time period as was writing the story of The Godfather. In Theodialogue, she performed in Jean's Place, Terry Garr, John Cazale, Hackman, and Harrison Ford as a young man. Even Robert Duvall had a part that wasn't given credit. It was a movie, concerning monitoring and paranoia, and it earned the Cannes Film Top Prize celebration. The movie only cost $1.6 but eventually made $4.8 million, having 3 nominations for Oscars, including Greatest Image. Later, Williams spoke on the distinction between Lucas and Coppola. Lucas was reserved and succinct, frequently simply stating, "Great," following a take. Coppola, however, was brimming with enthusiasm, continuously complimenting his performers and requesting their opinions. Both, her life was altered by directors in various ways. Methods. However, something odd occurred. Following her role in Travels with American Graffiti, My Aunt and The Talking, 3 consecutive movies that received high praise, her career struck a wall. It was illogical. She seemed too familiar to return to working as a waitress but not receiving the large-scale movie parts as well. She began writing to stay with Penny Marshall occupied. Francis Ford employed them. Zoetrope Productions, a division of Coppola, a few female authors who were brought in just $30 each week. Back then, nobody thought. It was significant. They were only 2 women attempting to succeed in the film industry. However, a significant event occurred. Although together they were writing, and they formed a close creative connection. They discovered how to bounce concepts, how to jokes that make you laugh and without even understanding it, and how to create the chemistry that would eventually determine their professional paths. Then, late everything changed in 1975 after a single-phone conversation. They were engaged in the process of script when Penny's, Gary Marshall's brother and Happy Days creator, called out of the blue. He asked them to take a week off and play 2 girls going on a double date with Fonza and Richie. Williams remembered, laughing at how Gary described the characters as the girls who date the fleet. She joked, "Hookers, this will be fun." They didn't think much of it. It was just 1 episode, a quick paycheck, and a silly little role. So they said, "Sure." On November 11th, 1975, they walked into Paramount Studios, not knowing they were about to change TV history. When the episode aired on January 27th, 1976, viewers instantly fell in love with the 2 girls from Milwaukee. Williams played Shirley, the sweet one. Marshall played Laverne, the tough one. In the episode, Richie asks Fonza for help after a breakup, and Fonza calls up Laverne and Shirley for a double date. That was it. A simple setup, but audiences couldn't get enough. What started as a small gag turned into a breakout moment. Even Penny later said they were meant to be the girls who put out. Creatures such as Boo Boo Kitty and to wear prim, neat sweaters. In comparison to Laverne's, the entire act was enhanced by the tomboy appearance. By women were entering salons in 1979, requesting the Shirley haircut. Cindy received more than 1,500 fan notes each week. Not everyone liked Shirley, they sensed her. However, behind the charming, someone with a kind voice and a grinned difficult. Cindy did nearly all of her own antics. The physical humor wasn't joke. In one incident from 1978, she had to bottle wrestlers on a conveyor line for 37 attempts. 3 of her ribs were bruised, but continued. Regarding the roller skating scenes she performed the splits on video in 1977 with no prior skating experience. She even received filming sequences of skiing for frostbite hours in the bitter cold. She received instruction from performers in vaudeville prior to the performance began. She once dated Penny Marshall, spent more time practicing a 3-minute drill. Hours. Her daring antics won her the female Buster's nickname Cotton. January 1978. Her work received significant acknowledgement. Cindy was put forward as the best actress in a Golden Globe humor. She faced legendary figures such as Gene Stapleton and Carol Burnett. She didn't succeed, but it was a game changer. Now, many in the field viewed her as greater than half of a pair. Studios provided stardom, more money, and her major deals duties as well as artistic authority. She pivoted them all down. She remained faithful to Shirley and Laverne. Her devotion paid off in unique ways. Her agreement provided her greater authority than the majority of actresses in the time period. However, things began to decline. Separate. In 1980, the program switched from California to Milwaukee. The brewery, there were no jobs left. The magic was the same. Her lawsuit claims that Gary Marshall attempted to eject her due to the pregnancy. The studio was hers, agreed to make room for her. They stated they would include it in the narrative and allow her to pay her and continue working securely until October. The entire $75,000 for each episode, $1,150 for each Run It Again. However, they later withdrew. Cindy felt deceived. The transaction was not completed, and she was compelled to face an impossibility: her career or her child. In August of 1982, she sued for $20 million against Paramount. In general damages, half in retribution. Her spouse was in favor of her, but his presence additionally resulted in tension on the set. Later, Penny Marshall acknowledged that she wasn't friendly with. Hudson claimed that he made things more difficult. Things quickly came to a head. Cindy featured in just 2 of the season's episodes. Then Shirley was gone. No goodbye, no simply a message left behind saying goodbye. She and her spouse relocated. The audience members were startled. Lever remained the name of the show, as well as Shirley. Although it was now only Penny Marshall and Laverne had to cope with, "Where is Cindy?" wonder bewildered fans. "The whole thing is a drag," she said. Cindy's departure from among the largest TV shows were quite expensive. She declined a $165 million contract. Without reruns that year. The case was ultimately quietly resolved. However, the harm had already been done. Her prospects in Hollywood was suddenly unsure. There were rumors. According to some, she had made ridiculous requests. A feud was blamed by others. Cindy generally stayed with Penny, silent, concentrating on her new position as a mom. When Cindy Williams wed Bill on May 1, 1982, Hudson, it wasn't only a wedding. It marked the beginning of an untidy roller coaster of emotions. Bill had just completed his separation from Goldie Hawn, and Cindy immediately entered a complex family. Overnight, she became Oliver's 6-year-old stepmother, and Kate Hudson, age 3. Both children would become famous Hollywood stars. But the family at the time was far from flawless. Tensions were high, deep. Oliver and Bill's relationship, and Kate, was tense from the beginning, and over time, it simply became worse. Items blew up in the media in 2015 when Oliver sent a note on Father's Day requesting out his father. Bill retaliated, accusing Goldie for inciting the children to oppose him. Goldie's boyfriend, Kurt Russell, long-standing companion, developed into a father figure to Oliver and Kate as opposed to Bill always was. It produced 2 distinct households with little communication. By 2021, Kate acknowledged that she desired to get back in touch, stating alongside her half-siblings, "Time is brief." In January, Cindy passed away, 2023. Many people hoped she would die. May in some way aid in healing the years of family quiet. The marriage of Cindy and Bill ended in 2000 after 18 years. However, Cindy had, long before the divorce, had to make a decision that would change their lives. Early on, she discovered she was pregnant in 1982 with Emily, their daughter. At the time, Shirley and Laverne were about to enter in the 7th season. Cindy was among TV's largest stars. She believed she could continue working while expecting, or perhaps conceal actresses behind furniture on the set frequently do. However, producers insisted that she continue filming till her due date. A action that would cause significant concern, now lawful inquiries. Cindy declined. She glanced at the contract and stated, "I am unable to sign it." 2 episodes into the new show, this season, she turned to leave. That choice cost her the Shirley Fenney role and caused a lawsuit worth $20 million, which later calmly settled. The birth of Emily Cindy retreated later that year, away from the limelight. Her exit became a momentous occasion, not only in her life but due to the way that Hollywood handled pregnant actors. Years later, she observed Housets began incorporating nurseries and providing nannies on site. She didn't set out to be a trailblazer, but she ended up being one. In 1986, 4 years later, Cindy gave William, her second child, was born, Hudson Zachary, sometimes called Zachary or Zach. He became part of a big, convoluted family which now comprised his sister Kate and Emily's half-siblings Oliver. But Cindy's decision seemed obvious. Her children would not be raised in the spotlight of fame. She looked at them quietly, grounded. Upbringing in a remote location, cameras that flash. Zachary did not participate in the general public. There was one uncommon exception. When he joined Cindy and Emily in 2004 AT, the ceremony for her Hollywood Walk of Fame. He was around 18. Then, in 2006, things became considerably more intricate. Hudson, Bill conceived a daughter, Linnea, with Caroline Graham, his girlfriend. That indicated that Zachary and Emily had another half-sibling. During it all, Cindy remained committed to keeping her safe. Privacy of youngsters. In the meanwhile, in 2021, Hudson stated in public that she desired a closer relationship with her other siblings, such as Emily and Zachary. It was evident that Bill's injuries, broken relationships hadn't entirely recovered. At least there was hope. As Cindy's family expanded, the career had to change. Having left Shirley and Lover, she attempted to maintain the act, but it wasn't simple. Her first significant post-sitcom endeavor in 1983, it was a quirky science fiction comedy, also known as The Creature Wasn't Nice, referred to as Spaceship or Naked Space. It featured a $2 million budget and Leslie Nielsen. Cindy even performed 2 songs.music in it, but the movie didn't work out, changed into several iterations that never managed to land with viewers. After that, she used UFO, she truly had a low-budget science fiction movie, returned with a blast in 1981. She portrayed the lonely Arlene in it, grocery employee with an extraterrestrial obsession. Harry Dean and Fred Ward co-starred Stanton. However, the movie was shelved and didn't come out until 1985. Later, it hobbled out on VHS in 1987. These positions were very different from her days of sitcom prime time, and it was evident that Cindy's notoriety was waning. However, rather than resisting, she leaned into the modification. Her priorities were her family, not fame. Following the departure of Shirley and Lover in, Cindy Williams wished for a powerful return. Her first significant effort was in 1990 with Normal Life, a sitcom. It was inspired by the peculiar upbringing of children of Frank Zappa, and it even featured his children in real life, Moon and Dweezil Unit. Cindy portrayed Anne Harlow, the mother. It sounded like an intriguing concept. A combination. Family. Attempting to endure the tumult of adolescence, however, it failed to engage the audience. It broadcast on CBS between March and July, all 13 episodes, but the numbers continued to decline. The directors were constantly shifting. Nothing was successful. What was meant to be Cindy's major? The return was a complete failure. Following that, she took a wise action. Rather than, in pursuit of another sitcom, she dove into movies on television. Just in 1990, she starred in Perry and Menu for Murder. Mason movie.